mess today, but I've been in the yard playing today, so it's gonna be all right. Today I'm gonna be making a roast. I guess most people call it pot roast. We just called it roast and rice and gravy. And I know a lot of people make their roast in the crock pot or the Instapot, or, I guess there's other ways too. I just cook mine the way that my grandmothers did. Just, I guess, old school roast in the oven. I'm using a beef chuck roast. I like that. That's my favorite roast for beef. And for my chuck roasts, I pretty much cook all of them for 4 hours. That's how long my grandmother cooked them. They come out perfectly tender. There's no guesswork involved. I don't do the cook it this amount of time per pound. Now, I will say this, if it is a smaller chuck roast, this one is 2.5 pounds. I usually get a big roast. But if I get one that's smaller, I will cook it for about 3 hours. I'll check it at 3 hours, and if it's like I want it, then I cut it off. But anyways, so the first thing I'm going to do is I've got some cloves of garlic here. There's 2 little ones. There's 4 big ones and 2 little ones. I'm just going to peel these. The little ones I'm going to leave whole, and the big ones I'm going to cut in half. So I'm going to peel these real quick and cut them in half. Listen to that freezer beeping out there. I got a freezer on my back porch, and for some reason, sometimes it just decides to start beeping. I guess it's not closing right or something, but I guess I'm going to have to go turn that off now. Oh, wait. No, it didn't stop. I thought maybe it stopped. Alright, got the garlic peeled. Now what I'm going to do is count my pieces of garlic. Okay, so there's 3, 7, 10 pieces of garlic. And what I'm going to do is just make a little slit in the meat. And I'm going to push that garlic in there. And I kind of use my finger to wallow that hole out. Just take a piece of garlic and put it in that hole. Okay. I'm going to make 9 more holes and put the rest of the garlic in. And you don't have to put the garlic in. Cooking a roast the way that I'm cooking it without garlic, it is still very good. This is just how my family has always done it, with the garlic in it. And I love getting a piece of that roast with the garlic. Like when I'm slicing it, or growing up, like going to, make my plate, I would look for those pieces with the garlic in it, because that is so good. I just absolutely love it. All right, so I got my garlic in there. Now I'm just going to put a little bit of oil on it. I'm going to put a little bit of oil, and I'm going to season both sides. Now, as always, use whichever seasoning that you want. I'm using, as always, onion powder, garlic powder, a little bit of salt, Cavender's. I like to use a little bit of Tony on my roast. I don't use Tony's on everything, like a lot of people in Louisiana do, but I do use it for some things. And then I'm just going to kind of rub that in. Actually, just kind of pat it down, make sure it's stuck to it. And that oil is all over the piece of meat. And my pan is over here heating up so that we can get a good sear on it. Now I'm just going to flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing with this side. And then I'm going to go put it over here in this pan. Alright, so I let the roast brown on that side. And now I'm going to flip it over and brown the other side. You just want to get a good, nice crust on there. So I'm just going to wait for that to brown. Alright, so that's probably good and browned on that side. Now I'm going to put some Worcestershire sauce, of course. Not measuring it, I'm just putting that much. I'm going to flip this over. Roll it around in that Worcestershire sauce. And we're just going to let that Worcestershire cook out a little bit. Now I'm going to be using beef broth, half water. Now you can certainly just use water for your gravy. My grandmother just used water. And also with this roast this time, I'm going to be making a thicker gravy with like a little roux. But you can also make a thin gravy with this. I prefer the thin gravy myself. But other people here want that lots of thick gravy so that they can make open-faced sandwiches, all that sort of thing. But anyways, flip that over one more time. And I'm going to take this out of here and get some flour, and we're going to make a little roux. Let's see, I'm going to put, this is 1/4 of a cup. I'm just going to put 1/4 of a cup of flour, and I might have to add some oil to it. I don't know. Let me see. Add a little bit of oil to it, just to loosen it up so it can move around a little bit in there. And of course, you want to scrape the bottom of your pot. That's where you get your good gravy from, is all that stuff on the bottom of the pot. Scrape it. Scrape it real good. I'm just going to let that brown a second. If you're wanting to do the thinner gravy, then you would just pour your liquid in. You wouldn't have to take your meat out or anything like that. Just pour your liquid in and just scrape that bottom a little bit and then put it in the oven. And that's all you do. Cook that about 5 minutes. Of course, I usually just eyeball everything. I don't measure how much liquid I put in, but I'm going to measure it. Let's see. I'm going to start with, what is that? 1 cup of beef broth. Scrape the bottom. When you add your liquid, scrape the bottom. Get all that stuff off the bottom. And I just slung that everywhere. Alright, I'm going to add a cup of water. I'm just adding a little bit at a time because I don't know how much it is, how much I use. I usually just pour stuff in there till it looks right. That's going to be too thick. And when you're making gravy with a roux, you never know how thick your sauce or your gumbo or whatever is going to be until that roux and the liquid comes to a boil. So we're going to bring that up to a boil, but I'm used to making gravy like this, so I know that I need more liquid in it. So I'm going to add 1/2 cup of beef broth and 1/2 cup of water. And I think that's good to start with. And later, you know, I check my roast about every 45 minutes to an hour. And if I see that the gravy is thicker than I want it to be, then I'll add some more liquid while it's cooking in the oven. Now we're going to put our roast back in the pot. Make sure you get all that stuff. All that meat juice and seasoning. Get that off that plate. Don't waste that. Turn that up to high. I'm going to bring this to a boil. Alright, it came to a boil, so now I'm just going to cover it. And I'm going to put it in the oven at 350 degrees. And I'm going to cook it 4 hours. I will come check it probably about in an hour and a half and just check my gravy and all that. But anyways, I'm going to put this in the oven and I'll see y'all in a little bit. Alright, so it's been 3.5 hours. My roast is doing good. It's almost done. I haven't had to add any more water or broth, any more liquid to it. And my gravy is the consistency that I want. So now I'm going to put in a few little red potatoes. I like to put carrots in it too, but I didn't get carrots. I forgot to get carrots, which I'm highly upset about. Oh! I just made a big mess. But anyways, if you want to put carrots or any other vegetables in there, go right ahead and do that. This is just what I've got. I didn't have any carrots. I'm going to put a little few potatoes in there. I'm just going to roll them around to get them coated in the gravy. And then I'm going to put this back in the oven for 30 minutes. I like to make sure I roll my potatoes around in that gravy so that it's like the top parts of them that are sticking out of the gravy. They get like this skin or something on them, and I love them like that. Alrighty. Also got some rice going. But anyways, I'm just going to cover this and put it back in the oven for another 30 minutes. Just going to check my potatoes. And they're ready. So this is all done. Alright, well there you have it. That's the way that I cook roast, how my grandmother's cooked roast. And I'm filthy. I continued to work outside, so I'm a mess. So I'm sorry about that. But I'm going to take a bite of this because I'm starving. I'm actually very, very starving. And it's really good. I made sure I got a piece with the garlic in it. I don't know if you can see it, but it just falls apart. It's just cooked perfectly. Perfectly tender. And I cooked it for 3.5 hours. And then put the potatoes in and cooked them 30 minutes. And they've got a nice skin on them. Like a, I don't know. It's not a skin, but you know what I mean. I love potatoes cooked like that. I love it. But anyways, I've got to go get Buller ready for bed and eat. Thank you so much for joining me. And I'll see you next time.